Welcome to another episode of the APL Spotlight series. Incredible guests the world over with amazing insights, experiences, wisdom, but I'd argue high vibe as well. Basically, love or their light that they're sharing with all of us, one way or the other. We've got all sorts of folks with all sorts of different backgrounds from 25, 26 countries now, from Delta Force to a White House physician to the US president, to all sorts of traditional healers, doctors, psychologists, and so on. This is an offshoot of the Angels Positivity and Love show that's up to episode 201 now. And it's been a fun ride and fun run. Thank you to everybody who's made this possible. Coming back to us today, already two episodes out. Well, the second one's coming out this July, so be sure to check out July 2025. Mark Anthony, psychic, lawyer, Pulitzer-nominated book author, and many other things. He is super talented, super fun, and also a tested or certified, I probably am not finding the right adjective, psychic through Stephen Schwartz, I think out in Arizona. So he's the real deal, fourth generation, been on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and so on, Gaia. So Mark, great to see you again. We always have a lot of fun when we get together, and we were gabbing away before the show. I'm psyched to see you from Florida.
We do always have a lot of fun, Michael, and for all the listeners who don't know Michael personally, he has the best dad jokes ever. And what I like about dad jokes is humor can be clean. I saw recently on YouTube an interview when Groucho Marx, the legendary comedian from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up till he died in the 70s, and he was being interviewed by was it David Frost? I think it was David Frost. And David and Groucho said, be funny, but be clean. He goes, you can be clean and be funny. And Groucho was. You never heard, I mean, there would be some suggestive comments, but they didn't break foul. And I always lose a lot of respect for comedians when every other word out of their mouth is an F-bomb. And look, I was a prosecutor, a criminal defense lawyer. A lot of my friends were cops. It's not like I haven't heard those words, but all it does is demonstrate your lack of vocabulary. And to be truly funny is to be clever, to make people think. So, Michael, I have always appreciated that about you. So thank you.
Well, and I told this one to you before the show, but because you're a former prosecutor, here's one that is sort of justice system related, and yet a lot of spirituality to it. Where do rainbows go when they're bad? For the folks at home, the answer is prism, but it's a light sentence. And with that, let's talk about what's up with mankind right now. What do you think? What's your latest iteration on this? Is everything raising vibrationally, and we're looking at a interesting path ahead?
Well, humanity is always a very turbulent system. Energy isn't a static thing. Energy is always flowing and turbulent. And the political scene, I mean, when has the political scene on planet Earth been mellow and copacetic? I mean, it wasn't during the Roman Empire. It wasn't during the medieval era. It wasn't during World War I or II. And a lot of people are up in arms about the way things are politically. But I think that two major events in the last month are a beacon of hope.
Hmm.
And first was the passing of Pope Francis. And in the passing of Pope Francis, he was, in my view, and I was raised in the Catholic faith, but I consider myself interfaith now. And that's where Pope Francis was really cool. I mean, he met with the Supreme Ayatollah in Iraq. He met with the Patriarch of Constantinople, which is now Istanbul, and Greek Orthodoxy. He met with Jewish rabbis. He met with the Dalai Lama. He was all about peace and love and understanding. And in the wake of his passing, we're now reflecting on how much change and how much he tried to change a very conservative organization. And the second event was the election of Pope Leo XIV. And choosing the name Leo is rather profound. The first Pope Leo was in the 5th century, around 450 AD. And it was the Roman Empire was, the Western Roman Empire was on its last leg. And Attila the Hun, and everyone's heard of Attila the Hun. He was called the Scourge of God. Attila and his horde of warriors destroyed over 70 cities in the Roman Empire, sacked, plundered, raped, destroyed, and his armies were pouring into Italy. And Pope Leo XI met him, went there unarmed as a man of faith, and according to legend, persuaded Attila not to attack the undefended city of Rome. Now, maybe Attila had other objectives on his mind. Maybe he was thinking, I need to go somewhere else, or maybe this would be a tactical error. But for whatever reason, there was a brief moment where he withdrew and he did not attack Rome. The last Pope Leo XIII, very fascinating person. It is believed he was the earliest born person ever to have been filmed. He was born in something like 1806 or 1809, and when he was an elderly man in the 1880s, he was filmed in a silent movie of him. And Pope Leo XIII was a radical reformer trying to liberalize the Catholic Church. Now, the Catholic Church is about as conservative an organization as you're going to get. It's 2,000 years old. It has very conservative rules, but Pope Leo XIII he shook things up for his day. And so it is no coincidence. It is rather a synchronicity that an American pope, the first in history, chose the name Leo XIV because he's already offered to negotiate peace between Ukraine and Russia. He's appealed to Hamas and Israel. He said his mission, he will facilitate peace. So I think, Michael, that this is a glimmer of hope that isn't about the Roman Catholic Church. It's about humanity in general, that there is hope. There is hope.
I love this. Okay, let's shift to your purpose here on earth, helping people. In a few broad brushstrokes, how would you describe it, or how has the universe told you what your path looks like helping others?
It was made very clear to me, and it's a lengthy story, but I'll just give you the end of it. Right after my mother passed, I was driving back from court. I was the senior partner of a law firm at the time, and it was about two weeks or so after she passed, and all of a sudden I felt I needed to pull over. And I pulled over at this convenience store, and I was sitting there, and I was grieving, and this flash of light filled the car. And I looked at the passenger seat, and for just a second, I saw my mother's silhouette in this beautiful silver white light, and her voice filled my head and said, "It is your life's mission to help people understand that the divine power you call God exists, that heaven, the afterlife exists, that souls are immortal living beings, that humans can communicate with souls, and that we will all be reunited when it is your time to leave the material world in the light you call God." Michael, I sunk back in my seat, drenched in sweat, and all that came out of my mouth was, "Okay." And I had to, I was trying to, and I've been a medium my whole life, but this was, I always hear about these people have these metaphysical experiences on a mountaintop in Maui. Man, mine was a fire hose right to the face. Okay. But it was very, very profound. And my first thought was, I can't tell anybody this. They're going to think I'm insane. But that was the ego, the fear speaking. And then the spiritual aspect took over and said, your life has changed forever. And so that's it.
And if I recall, she made you lasagna a couple days earlier. You got to go over for lunch.
Did the day before mom passed, she called me up and asked me if I wanted to have lunch with her, and I said yeah. And I went to my parents' house. They live about 5 miles from my office. We had a beautiful Italian lunch, and when I left, right before I left, she hugged and kissed me and said, "I'm so happy you've been my son. I love you so much." And the next day I was in court, and the judge's assistant came into the courtroom and said, "Mark, we need you in chambers right now." And I went in there, and I'll never forget, she was holding the phone and she was shaking. And I took the call, and my office had called to tell me that my mother had died. And so she knew, and the thing is, Michael, people know their bodies. I mean, you're a real physical, athletic guy. You know your body, okay? So you're real in touch with your body. But I'd say that the vast majority of people are in touch with their body, or need to be more so. Like next time, watch what you're putting in your mouth and drinking, but be in touch with your body. But when people get to a point where their body's beginning to wind down, they know. And she had me over for lunch to say goodbye, and I found out later, the day that she passed, that she had called both my brother and sister and had similar conversations with them.
Oh,
So mom, she was a great medium, a beautiful, beautiful artistic person, and she wanted to make sure that she left everybody on good terms.
oh, I love this. I'm going to put up an angel named Joy, who you and I have interacted with before, and people who have watched this show or Mind Body Spirit panels or whatever, they've seen her come up before. What does Joy have as a quick reminder to kind of tie this all together that each audience member can do as a takeaway?
Healing is joy.
I love that. And I'll mention a personal thing. It happens on the show. I'm a show host. But both my parents have passed. It was their time to go. Mike Sr., 6'1" or 6'2", Navy, died off the coast of Naples at night in an F4 Phantom crash, turned 25 or 26 just beforehand. My mom passed at 44 when I was turning 23. They're reunited. Hundreds of people have met them, seen them. Barb, and very sparkly, 5'4". They're sweeties, and they're reconciled and give good advice as well. But angels, you can't beat.
You look just like your dad. I know that's cool. I mean, as I was looking at him going, if that were in color, I would have thought, oh, that's your Navy picture.
That's funny. So talk to us a little bit about how immediately, like 3 bits of advice for walking a smoother path for anybody who just tuned in. It's kind of obvious and simple, but it's not because we have so much going on. My problem is, my situation is thinking you don't understand my situation and all those details, but you know how to strip right through all that and give good advice.
Three pieces of advice on how to walk the spiritual path,
And or smoother path, whichever
or
way.
smoother path. Life is I'll tell you where I learned this. I'm so glad you asked, because I don't know if anyone's ever quite asked me that. Years ago, I was in Japan, in Kyoto, at the Zen Gardens. And if you ever get a chance to go to Kyoto, I'm saying this to everybody, do it. And in the Zen Gardens, it's so spiritual. And I was there with a friend of mine who'd lived in Asia, and he goes, I'm just going to let you be here and let it happen. I go, what happened? He goes, you'll find out. So I sat there, and all of a sudden, as I'm looking at the patterns in the rocks, which are just amazing. All of a sudden, there was a flash. And now that I think about it, Michael, it was very much like the flash I got when Mom's spirit came to me. All of a sudden, I went into this transcendent dual reality, and the first message was, life is like a river, flow with it, not against it. Secondly, it was, don't fight with yourself, don't take yourself so seriously. And the third is, follow the path that leads to inner peace. And I realize that doesn't mean just be complacent and hope that life, just gives you things. You still have to be assertive, but when you realize you keep beating your head on a brick wall, you need to shift your focus. Life is like a river. You can't force fate. You got to go with things. A lot of people like you and me, we'd like to be on a television show, and I've been on television a lot. I was on just last week in San Francisco, and I was on Houston. I was just on Discovery Channel and all that. And it'd be nice to have a regular show, but the thing, a regular show, but instead of worrying about that, continue doing what I'm doing, be the best at what I can be. And that is that road to inner peace. Because we were talking about this before the show. I saw this. It was kind of like a single framed cartoon where this woman's in front of Buddha and she says, "I want happiness." And Buddha responds, "Remove I, remove want, and now you have happiness." So when you flood your body, your mind, your being with desire, desire, I want, you're creating a lot of angst. Instead, focus on you, what you're doing, be the best at what you can be, and then life like a river will lead you to the destination you are supposed to arrive at.
I love this. It's almost like you have an invisible, but it's not even invisible ball of light right here. If you could just slow way down and appreciate how big you really are, how flowing, how golden, whatever you want to call it. I've got a different thing. I'm going to try to put this up. Joy can do the intro. I used to have a Japanese torii in my backyard 2 houses ago. I'm not allowed to put it up in the backyard today, but there it is.
Yes.
And if you want, you can ask the universe to do some golden flashes inside that torii. There's a loving being who represents East Asian mysticism. If you get the golden flashes in the photograph, this is like multiple screens. I'm holding up my iPhone, but let me know if you get some golden flashes of light inside the torii. It's a jinn who represents East Asian mysticism who talks like this. I told the dogs not to go in the garden. Very cute fellow petite. You getting a hit on that?
Oh, yeah. The Tory is a very fascinating structure. Even though Japan is traditionally a Buddhist country, Japan's one of religiously, Japan, I think, is perhaps the most interesting country in the world. And here's why. Although traditionally Japan is Buddhist, the religion before Buddhism is Shintoism. And Shintoism, the belief is in the kami, Kami, and kami are spirits, and they tend to be localized. In my work as a paranormal investigator, I've encountered the kami in Japan, and I've encountered a similar energy in England, in Colorado, I mean, throughout the world, and I believe them to be elementals.
Mhm.
Elementals are non-human spiritual intelligence. People that encounter elementals will start screaming, "They're demons, they're devils." It's like, no, 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 no. It's when people think spirit communication is scary because when you encounter a spirit, you get cold chills and tingles because spirits are electromagnetic energy and they're interacting with your EM field, electromagnetic field, and the physiological response are cold chills and tingles, which is the same physiological response in fear and the flight or fight response. So that's why a lot of people, when they encounter a spirit, jump to the conclusion it's scary. You've got to take a breath, relax, and realize, oh, the spirit's communicating with me. And the torii are erected throughout Japan in areas that, as Yoda would say, are strong with the force. Okay, and that force is positive energy. Also, the torii symbolically is like a portal between our realm and the other when you go through. That's why you're saying, you're telling your dogs don't go through there, because you don't want them disrupting the energetic field. But animals kind of get a pass because they're already tuned into nature. And so when Buddhism spread from China to Japan, Shintoism gets a bad rap because the code of the Bushido and the samurai. Shintoism can also be very warlike, and the word kamikaze, and we've all heard that. Well, where kamikaze comes from, in the 13th century, Genghis Khan, who had conquered China and on Russia, and he had assembled a huge fleet, and the fleet was going to invade Japan. And the Japanese knew it was coming, and every samurai warrior, and they knew they were outnumbered like 10 to 1, and they prayed. And on the way, a typhoon hit the Mongol fleet, and it was the divine wind, the kami, who that the Japanese Shinto priests believed had directly intervened. So in World War II, they were trying to recreate that divine wind by creating suicide bombers, which was a tragedy for the Japanese, certainly for the American fleet and for everybody involved. But taking the negativity out of it and focusing on that, In Japan, instead of one religion competing with another, they assimilated it. So in Japan, you can be a Buddhist, a Shinto, and a Christian at the same time. And it's funny because when a new word comes into Japanese, if they don't have a Japanese equivalent, you put zu on the end of it. So when I was in Japan, people are saying Merry Christmas Su. And so they'll have a Christmas tree, a statue of Buddha, and a torii, and it's cool. And I was thinking, if the rest of the world would stop competing like our religion is the only way, and instead realize there are many faces of the divine has many different names. Instead of saying mine is better than yours, let's celebrate all of them.
Beautiful. I'll put up an angel named Min, ocean energy, soft-spoken professor, actual silhouette, actual photo of an angel. Sometimes those photos move, and so on. You can catch Hawaii if you're at home, want to put your hand up and feel the vibe off the photo. You can catch Hawaii in your room if you're into the ocean or just somewhere that you think is fantastic. What's Min have to add for mankind, humanity, and what's ahead?
Mankind has to stop thinking it can stop the tsunami.
The tsunami of love, compassion, consciousness coming in.
I'm hoping that's the tsunami.
Yeah. And
It,
you were right about the elemental stuff because the jinn, I call it jinn, but elemental, and they run the gamut from unconditional love to, just like human beings, totally wonderful to you don't want to have them over for a cup of coffee.
well, the jinn, that's what these entities are called in the Middle East.
Exactly.
Every culture has them. In Hawaii, they're called the Metahune. And in Ireland, they're leprechauns and sprites. In England, they're fairies. In Iceland, they're the elves. And in Scandinavia, and it's interesting. A poll was taken recently in Iceland, and over 90% of the people there believe in the existence of elves. And it's easy to say, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, well, wait a second. People in this country believe in angels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your work is with angels. We're talking about spiritual beings, okay? And elementals tend to be aligned with earth and nature, animals, and so there's a different alignment there, but it's a positive alignment. But because we don't understand them, people, oh, those are devils and demons, and it's like, well, people tend to fear the unknown, and when they fear something, they somehow think it's evil, and that's not been my experience. I mean, when I've encountered elementals, it's the same vibe, the same sensation. And if you just relax and communicate with them, they're cool.
Yeah, I love this. What's new for you in 2025 that you haven't been experiencing previously that either signifies growth or you had to let something go or new adventures, broader horizons ahead? If you could share something about Mark Anthony's path personally.
Some things that used to be very difficult are not so difficult anymore. I've been a public speaker and working with near-death experience research and afterlife research and UFOlogy. And in 2025, instead of reaching out to organizations, they're reaching out to me and inviting me to speak. And I realized I took the I and the want out of it, and then the happiness came. So it's continue working, and I strive every day to be the best medium, the best writer, the best researcher that I can be, but take the angst out of it, and things have gotten easier.
You could also just say you're tapping that big heart of yours. So we got to mention the Arthur Findlay College in the UK. It's kind of like the Hogwarts if you needed to like romanticize it a little bit. And it has 365 windows, if I recall. And we've had Susan Allen on and Mark Lanehart and even one other person who attended. So out of 200 plus shows, we've had about four folks with that background come on. What can you share these days about intuition, tapping what you've already got is what I would argue. And how can a person watching right now appreciate how available listening and seeing and feeling the other side, the other world, more consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Can you talk to us about intuition?
Intuition is an extremely important skill, and I discuss intuition. It's applied more to detecting the presence of spirits, but it can be extended into senses as well. It's my raft technique, which is in my book, The Afterlife Frequency. I teach the raft how to recognize spiritual signs, accept the contact is real, feel it without overthinking it. That's where people kill it, when they start overthink, analyze, and find a reason to reject it, and then trust the message. Intuitive feelings, every parent has them. Um, Women, we always hear about women's intuition. And I always ask when I'm talking about intuition to a crowd, how many men here are married to a woman who has women's intuition? Every guy raises their hand. Yeah. And how many guys here have gut instinct? See, guys by like you and me, we're different because we work in this. But a lot of guys, oh, I don't have intuition. That's a woman thing. Yeah, talk to a first responder or someone in the military. You got gut instinct? Hell yeah, I do. And it's like, it's the same thing because it's governed by the solar plexus, which is the second most complex bundle of nerves outside the cerebral cortex in the body. And it's in the area of the diaphragm. Notice a lot of mediums, we have these pronounced diaphragms. Could it come with the washboard abs package? Oh no, it has to be the big diaphragm. But leaving all joking aside, learning to trust those feelings. I mean, my dad was a Navy SEAL, and he said, you got to trust your feelings. When you walk into a place, you have a situational awareness, 360 degrees around you. The thing is, trust your feelings. Trust your feeling. When you meet somebody, you can immediately determine whether or not you like that person. And it's not about being judgmental. It's a non-physical observation. It's an energetic vibration.
Hmm.
So that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we could talk about with intuition.
Well, we're going to take some steps in just a second to go sort of not non-physical. We'll just not call it anything. Energy, consciousness, the universe, letting angels step in, whatever you want to call it, and the audience can participate. First, I want to put up one more angel named Charlotte, one of my business managers. She's like a teacher in her 50s, maybe if you want to picture her that way. But what does Charlotte have to add to the whole kit and caboodle here?
It's advice that may sound cliche, but it's very important, and it's you already have all the tools you need inside of you, and you have to realize that. I mean, how many times do people say, I wish I was better looking, I wish I had a better voice, I wish. You have it all. You have it already. If you have somebody that has this deep thundering voice like a Patrick Stewart, don't worry about having a voice like that. Take your own voice and celebrate it.
Mm.
Okay. We're in these bodies. If you're going to be on stage, well, that's who you are. Okay. Go out there and be you. Realize instead of focusing on desiring what you want, reach within and pull out what's already there and let it go. Let it work for you.
Speaking of which, we're going to let go right now. I'm going to blow some sage. We do this a lot on different shows for panelists when it's three people. Mark, you've been on a panel or two here, so people should check that out as well. I'll put that in the footnotes. I'm going to light sage. You're in Florida. I'm in Texas. Now, if people are wondering what's going on, this is like probably juniper ridge sage, the stuff at Whole Foods. My only thing is to set your intent or give yourself a break. You can smell sage through the computer screen. And it doesn't matter if the year is 2030, you're in Berlin, Christchurch, or Tokyo, or at a Shinto shrine in Japan, watching on an iPhone. Just catch the sage. It'll be campfire smell, sage. You might get flowers. Ask for ocean on top of it. What will you allow for is the daily rub. And let angels do the job. If you need to picture this as angels bringing it through, or the universe, or Christ consciousness, whatever. Are you catching a little bit of sage or a lot of sage?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to snub this out. We're going to do a visual. I'll show my energy. You don't have to show yours. But as you do see my energy, you can acknowledge it, tell us the colors, and then I'll go faster and bigger, and we'll have angels, the universe step in. The good news is everybody gets another dad joke. So this is like out of the movie Celestine Prophecy, except as a woman in Arizona who was Sue Frederick, another psychic type. She
She's a
said in
friend.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, she said in the 70s they were already doing this before the movie was made, and in India they do it this way, so it's kind of a global thing. But you'll see my light between my fingers. It's just light energy, consciousness. What else am I supposed to? Oh, auras. You'll see whatever color, blue, green, gold, something. But the second you say you see it, let angels, the universe pick it up and do something extra. People have gotten butterflies, geometric shapes, whatever. More importantly, here's the dad joke. First dad joke. I'll tell one more after this, or I'll try to match your Yoda's voice. Where in a hospital? Where in a hospital is the worst place to play hide and seek? Where? In the ICU.
A
And then just see a little bit of light or a lot of light. What are you seeing between my fingers?
lot of green and yellow.
Okay, now we're going bigger and do not there. Try.
Very good, Yoda.
And are you getting more vortices, wisps, flows? What are you getting now?
Yeah, I'm getting the green and yellow, a bit of aqua in there, and it's good that you're using a black background. That's important to do in looking at auras and energy.
Cool.
So
Blue sky works too if people are running out to their back patio or porch or something. Or
right before you finish, I got a splash of burgundy.
I didn't do it. Blame angels. Blame Canada.
Burgundy. Wow, a deep red burgundy color. Interesting.
And shout out to Ron Burgundy because I love humor. So, okay. I did have one more thing. Oh, yeah, I got it. Palm to palm. So, if you don't mind, I'm letting go. It's just a bigger flow. Love and above only. None of my thinking, bill paying, or anything else that I go right back to when we finish recording. Mark, if you can use all of you or you can put your hand up, it's your call. What are you feeling for an adjective or two? And then I'm going to start whooshing you like we did two-step, two-tier with the seeing the light. Here's the feeling it. What are you feeling? My hand's hot right now. Uh,
Yeah, I'm feeling the heat as well. You know what I keep getting is healing, 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 healing energy, healing, not just emotionally, but nerve endings,
ooh.
healing nerve endings.
And
Okay.
here comes one, two, or three whooshes. Again, let Joy be our cosmic ambassador and a lot of other angels and Michael and so on. Here comes the first one. My microphone's down below today. I'm going to blow Hawaii your way. Can't have enough Hawaii. Get a little whoosh, medium whoosh.
Yes.
Okay. Second one's coming. And the third one will get a topic out of it. So we're gonna get you talking on a new topic. Joy's working on something right now. You may get it on the second one. Here comes the second. And was that different than the first?
It was.
Okay, third, I'm gonna look like a goose and playing double, cheating at ping pong with double paddles here. But whatever. And people don't have to worry about me. We're blaming angels, the universe on this. Here comes, let a lot of light, good cooking smell come in. Maybe it's lasagna. Let's find out. And Mark, on that one, do you mind sharing more detail on that last one? And you must have gotten a topic out of it. I'm going to trust angels on this one.
I did. You know, when you came together, I suddenly saw when I was a little boy, my mom working with dough, kneading bread. And it was more than bread, it was rebuilding, reformulating, reshaping. And it's amazing because I'm seeing through the eyes of my 4-year-old self. We were living in Orlando, and I'm standing in the kitchen watching mom make this bread, and I can smell it and taste it. But it's all about reforming. And there's something about baking bread, the hearth, the home. There's comfort there, and the reforming is reforming, rebuilding our inner peace, our security. Because, you know, I don't know if I was ever happier than I was when I was 4 years old. You know, I mean, life, there was magic in life. You know, Santa existed, the Easter Bunny, the tooth fairy, but the most important thing was the unconditional love I always felt surrounded by. I always felt protected. I felt safe, and I wish everybody in the world could experience that, and hopefully will.
Well, we'll put up three archangels next to keep talking about this sort of topic or this vein of topics. But I got to do a Santa Claus dad joke, and it's only going to take 40 seconds. But Mrs. Claus, Santa, their summer retreat, they get June off every year. Can't tell you where. Fine, Banff, Canada area, palatial property. They're on their back patio looking at a sunset on the mountain range, and Mrs. Claus is standing next to Santa. But out of the corner of her eye at the last second, she sees lightning bolts, dark clouds, something's coming their way. So she turns to Santa and says, "Looks like reindeer." I had to do it. Here's Archangel Michael. If you could get one or two, first get a couple big whooshes from him where even you are like, whoa, third rail in New York City, but all unconditional love, no hospital. What's he got for you privately? Just acknowledge that you got something, it's meant for you. But then you get to flip that pancake, talking about cooking here. And what do you have for all of us, from Michael, from you?
Don't back down.
And that's like that Tom Petty.
That's
Oh,
exactly that's exactly what triggered them. Like, and won't back down. And
just
don't back down. It's stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for yourself. Whether it's an internal struggle, whether it's against some form of adversity, don't back down. Stand up. Stand up for yourself.
love it. Bravo. Archangel Gabriel's next. And you'll note, if you don't mind getting two different flows from the same, you've got
Yeah.
the rainbow versus the purple, and Gabriel come in loud and clear for you.
Compassion is the key.
Love it. And last but not least, it's four rainbow pie slices. I trimmed it. There's three more off camera: Shamuel, Jophiel, and Zadkiel. But they're a mouthful. We'll just stick to Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, and Uriel. One last big enchilada with a good tall soda, or if we prefer, water or orange juice.
You're never alone. And what they mean by that is even though you may be the only person in the room or you feel everyone's abandoned you spiritually, you are never alone. It's an interconnectedness with everything. And many people combat and have to deal with depression and loneliness and feelings of isolation. And this is heaven, the universe, the divine's way of letting you know, no, you're not alone. You are connected to something bigger than yourself.
Can we do one final exercise that will help everyone watching for years to come? It's something like this. You're going to tweak it or hear it from Joy directly, but I'll put Joy up. She'll be our guinea pig. She's volunteering. She's like, pick me. If you put your hand out off camera, is fine. Like you're getting $50, but you're not getting $50 from me, but like a helicopter landing pad. Let her come in and start to feel at least warmth, tingle, sparkle, or joy. You can see the pink light. When you get it full on, like someone turned the Bunsen burner all the way up in the science class or the stove, bring it into your heart and get a hug. If you don't mind doing it a couple times, but think of it this way: for anybody at home, it's a reset. You had a hard day or a hard moment. You've run to the car to cry. You don't want people at work seeing you cry. You need help. You need a little love. This is a good way to get a psychic hug, a universal hug, a big hug from whichever way. But I need you to use the words and to do it and to adopt it as the Mark Anthony advice to others. How can we bring in all that light? I know maybe it's not the hand, maybe it's just ask for a hug. What way do you want to show the audience, take that step, take a leap of faith in the moment?
You know, as soon as you said that, it brought me back to a week ago. I was in the Muir Redwood Forest in Marin County, California. And it's such a sacred and beautiful place. I mean, we could do a whole show just talking about it. And I walked into an area where there was this like beam of light and there was all these bees flying around. And I was motivated to put my hand out just like that. And I let the light reflect off my hand. And the bees came and they were hovering around me. And then one landed right on my palm. And I went into that zone and I could feel that this being, this creature did not perceive me as a threat. And so when you let go of aggression and hostility, that's also a path to inner peace. And when I'm doing this, and luckily Rocky was taking a picture. We got like a short little, someone walking up, what do you do? You know, these tourists come up and, the bees all took off. And I explained to them politely that when you're in a place like this, you have to bring your energy down and let the bee know, let the forest know that you're not a threat. And that could be a lesson for all of us in compassion, and that doesn't mean be naive, okay? Animals can sense things, and it's interesting because people say, well, it's just a bee, and it's like, yeah, bees are highly complex beings. They're extremely social, and they pack a punch. I mean, they can sting you, but this did not sting me. It made contact with me because it did not perceive me as a threat. And that needs to be humanity's approach to nature in general. We've got to stop looking at it simply as something to be exploited, but rather something to live in harmony with.
And that's something that's a universal approach for mankind towards everything that's external, whether we're talking natural resources, even angels, or even unconditional loving beings that are beyond mankind's grasp currently, but might be coming into the picture soon. We'll call that disclosure, UFOs, aliens, stuff like that. How do you handle the galactic picture? Are we the only casino on the Vegas Strip, mankind?
Not even. Not even. I've done readings for a number of people who have claimed to have been abducted by aliens, and some of which are the most credible on record. And also my father's work in the space program and the space scientists that I know, and my work with the Mutual UFO MUFON network, to think that we're alone in the universe. I just saw on Stephen Colbert the other night a astrophysicist, and he said, "Here is a picture," and it was from the Webb Space Telescope, and he said, "This is only a 1 by 1, 1 inch by 1 inch frame of this bigger picture." And they brought it up on the screen, and it's loaded with what looks like stars and oval shapes. He said, all of those are galaxies. And he said, in the Milky Way, our galaxy alone, it's estimated there's 400 billion suns. And each one of these other galaxies has at least that number. And he said, and this is just a minute view of what's out there. So even if the chances in a galaxy of there being another planet to sustain life are only 0.000001, that's still in the millions.
Hmm.
And that's just in our galaxy, not to mention all of these others. So we are not the only game in town. And also, with all due respect to humanity, it would be rather depressing to think that we're the supreme pinnacle of intelligence that eternity has created.
Hmm. Okay. A shout out to Earl Grey, who has passed over, unfortunately, and is going to be sorely missed by a lot of people. He was the Southern California MUFON director who guest on the show, was planning on coming back, but he shared, I think it was the January or February episode, he shared how his mom was one of those top three personal secretaries to Howard Hughes, the billionaire, but who also participated with the US government on like secret UFO programs. And so she once got taken to a facility underground, shared it with their son, blah, blah, blah. That's in the interview from January, February. If people have an interest and want to check that out, please leave an emoji and note. Earl is fantastic. It's all over the internet and social media, people paying tribute to him. Sweetest man in the world. So was fortunate to interact with him. What is your personal experience that you can share? It doesn't have to be everything today because I'm planning on having you back, but can you share a time that something happened and you know it was more outer space, less angels, although I'd argue angels last spring started sharing, not everyone, some of their cosmic origins, but it's more like Green Lantern, a lot of different shapes, figures, and people from different universes wearing the same green outfit that represents unconditional love, the heart trying to help, not interfere with mankind. Have you seen lights in the sky, had a direct encounter, nighttime dream, out of body experience, went to a classroom somewhere? There's a lot of different versions, and it might be all the above for you. But what's one moment that you can share where you know it was beyond mankind?
Oh my God. I mean, well, it happens to me pretty much every day when I do readings for people and I connect with their loved ones in spirit. And when I've done readings for abductees, when their spirits come through and explain to them why they are being identified, how they're being identified and targeted, um, it's just mind-boggling, and that could be an entire episode. I'd like to talk about that because it we don't have the time for me to go into the depth I'd like to. But when I've communicated with people who claim to, and I believe have been abducted by aliens, their spirits come through to tell them, yes, it did happen, and here's why it's happening.
Hmm.
I'll just leave that for next time.
Sure. And maybe in August, we'll have you back for this APL Spotlight series. I know Arcturians, Lyrans, Pleiadians, folks from Orion, Andromeda, and there's one more, I always forget, Sirius, not trying to be too serious here, exist. And light beings, which are like whales, if angels are like dolphins. I've got a light being named Grace who's orange light. She's enthusiasm. One of my favorite figures out of this big collective cheerleading squad. If you want to close your eyes and get a little bit of orange light and very bubbly champagne-like effervescence, you can do that right now, and we'll get a final cosmic message for everybody. But catch a little bit of orange light if you would. Close your eyes, allow for, and anybody who needs extra help at home, breathe extra. Shoulders going up and down counts. It's like bellows if you're a professional nose breather. Perfect. And allow a little orange light. You can have Joy come in and play Ambassador or Michael. But she's a blast. I don't know what else to say. Fun, perky. You get that one?
I did.
I didn't do it. Blaming angels and light beings now.
The message is get more nature in your life. And the message was everyone, and this means everyone, spend some time, put the electronic devices down, leave them at home, ooh, or in the car if you have to, and just be surrounded by some trees, some nature. Just take a deep breath, relax, and connect. And by connecting, you don't have to have some major transcendent experience. It's just stop being distracted by technology and just feel the energy of nature. And the reason that they're telling me this is because it will be soothing to your emotions and it will help you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And this doesn't mean you have to go live on a mountaintop for a month. You can spend 10 minutes,
Mm.
10 minutes outside around nature, even if it's a park or some trees or a rose garden or whatever. But that's what they're telling me.
This sounds like the making of your next book, to be honest.
Kind
So
of.
I'm going to ask a final request of you as we sign the show out. Can you give us a mantra that you're going to repeat 3 times to allow people to feel your vibe? And I'm going to put up some angels, not that you need any help at a mantra, but here's 4 archangels, Joy and Charlotte. And there might be something that you're like, whoa, I have not said that one in 15 years since you were 27. Okay. What are you getting? Let me know when you've got the mantra.
I got it.
Okay. And then any context you want to just give it to us, but you got to repeat it 3 times.
Life is energy, energy is light. Life is energy, energy is light. Life is energy, energy is light.
Ah,
Wow.
beautiful.
I got to write that one down.
Share a little. I love for you to paint the picture on this, and then you're literally will part that way. But how have you come to appreciate how literally everything is flowing, everything, all the time, but it's really easy to tune out by being up in the brain?
Well, Michael, there's a lot of times I have to stop and pinch myself. I mean, um, I live with me, so I'm not impressed. Okay. I mean, I'm more than well aware of all my drawbacks and flaws, but sometimes I think about the things I've been able to experience spiritually, physically, the places I've been, the people that I get to meet. I mean, in the last year, I've had dinner with some of the world's top Egyptologists who are working on finding the chamber of records beneath the Great Sphinx. I know the top near-death experience researchers in the world. I've been in a laboratory for the Soul Phone project where they're working on technology to communicate with spirits. I've been able to help people by connecting to them with their loved ones in spirit through this, gift that I've been given. And when people come up to me and tell me how what I've written and what I do has helped them, it's very overwhelming, and I thank God every day. And sometimes it's like, why me? What made me so special? Or maybe I'm not special. Maybe we're all special and we all have different parts to play. And maybe everybody needs to realize that no matter who you are, you can and do make a difference. So make each day count.
I love it. Mark Anthony, thank you so much for being on the APL Spotlight series. Just wonderful seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.